Welcome, everyone. We are here with Wyandot County Public Health and the Ohio Buckles Buckeyes program to talk about car seat safety. It is Child Passenger Safety Week, so it's a great time to remind ourselves why and how to put kids safely in the car every trip, every time. So if you could go to the next slide, please. So I am one of the car seat technicians. We'll also be bringing up Wendy and Beth. We are trained car seat technicians through the National Child Passenger Safety Certification Training and through the Ohio Buckles Buckeyes program in conjunction with the National Child Passenger Safety Board. So there's a lot of different groups that come together to train us. And technicians are here to educate caregivers on proper car seat use and to ensure that the child leaves safer when they leave than they arrived. So first up, I'd like to go over some reasons that child passenger safety is important. Did you know that 3 children are killed every day on average, and an estimated 487 are injured every day in the US? 3 are killed in traffic crashes. So that's something that obviously a safe seat can help prevent. Car seats also reduce fatal injury risk. They reduce the risk for an injury in a crash by 71% for infants and 54% among toddlers. And boosters also reduce non-fatal injuries, 45% among 4 to 8-year-olds when compared to seatbelts alone. So you'll have a lot of parents who say that they want their kids to be just in a seatbelt. That's not a good idea. We'll talk about why. And then finally, car seats and boosters are often used incorrectly. As many as 46% of observed car seats and booster seats were misused. So a lot of parents think they know what they're doing, but they don't always. There are mistakes that are happening, which we will go over. So any questions about that? No? Okay, great. All right. So if we could go to the next slide, please. We will now go ahead and skip the Even Flow Titan 65 video, but these are the types of car seats and boosters that we have available at the health department for people who financially qualify. We are able to provide them for a nominal price to the people who come in need. And oftentimes we'll also do car seat checks. People come in, they have maybe a car seat that's expired, they didn't realize, or it's not in very good condition. So these are some of the seats that we are able to provide through the Ohio Buckles Buckeyes program to them in those cases. So if you know anybody who needs a car seat or a booster seat, we have a lot right now, so please stop in. We can check to see if you're eligible, and we'll get you out the door with a great car seat. So, Wendy, would you like to come up?
My name is Wendy Pauley, and I don't know, should I say? I'm a car seat tech. I'm at the Wyandot County Health Department with Buckeye Buckles. A few things, if we'll go to the next slide. Okay, if I can get out of here. A few things for choosing the right car seat. As you can see up here, height and weight are part of it. Car seats have a height and weight limit, and they can have different limits for the different types of car seats that are available on the market. If you have a forward-facing car seat versus a rear-facing car seat, and even the cradle-handled car seats, those are all going to have different weight limits, anywhere from 4 pounds up to 68. And then you're going to talk about boosters, and we're going to talk about not just weight, but height, and whether or not you have a back booster. Some boosters are just a seat booster. When you're determining your height and weight, you need to measure your child. When you talk about age, a child should remain rear-facing as long as possible. Right now, so this will tell you that until the age of 2, but right now they're even recommending staying rear-facing until the age of 3 whenever possible, because that ride down the forces and during a crash, your child is going to be better able to ride down that crash and stay safe if they're rear-facing. Let's talk about that. You can read that. The developmental level. So children with special healthcare needs, such as poor head control or behavioral concerns, they may benefit from staying rear-facing, but they definitely benefit from that 5-point harness. So our little bear here. So when we talk about a 5-point harness, you're looking at the chest clip. You've got a bottom clip. You've got the legs securely wrapped within the 2 points. You've got 2 points up at the top. This is a little high for him. And this would be what is considered a 5-point harness. Seat belts that just come across, in the case of a booster seat, would not be a 5-point harness. The child could easily slip out of that, pull the seat belt from across, not doing double standing, pull the seat belt from across their chest. If you want to switch the slide. This gives you a little bit more information as far as best practice. We'll talk about good, better, best in a little bit. Your rear-facing seats, birth to 12 months of age, but again, you can go up to 3 years of age rear-facing, and that's still acceptable. So for your booster seats, when you're talking about these, you've got your 4 to 8 years of age. Best practice, keeping your child in a booster seat, in the back seat. In the back seat, that's really important too. Car seats are not made for the front seat because of the airbag. So you're going to want to make sure those children stay in the rear and rear facing when possible. Your forward facing car seat, you've got ages 1 to 4 years old. It's required for children to be in a car seat. As far as like what brand or what type, they've got some really neat, exciting things out there that you guys can use for a car seat. However, the prettier and the fancier isn't always the safest. Some of them will have, you can buy some aftermarket products that will have pretty, really pretty, really cute, maybe even Winnie the Pooh, things that you can put in it, but that actually takes away from the safety of the car seat. You only want to use approved items that came with the car seat or that the manufacturer recommends for you to use. So when you're talking about seat belts, you're talking ages up to age of 15, no matter where seated in the car. Do you guys have any questions about that so far? Okay, well, so when we talk about a rear-facing car seat, this would be something that would look rear-facing only, is something that would look like, we're most familiar with the carrier car seats for infants that you'll normally, you'll see it detaches from a base. That car seat cannot be put front-facing. It is rear-facing only. If you're talking about, say, a convertible car seat, this would be a convertible car seat. It can be done rear-facing. We've got a little foot that comes out. And so we can put him rear-facing in the back, or we can shut that foot and we can turn it around so that he is front-facing, facing the driver. A lot of people will use, when they're rear-facing, will use mirrors. I'm going to throw that out there. We'll put mirrors in the back of the car so that when the baby's facing the back of the car, if they're in the driver's seat and they look back, they can still see baby. We really recommend that you don't do that, mainly because it becomes a projectile. Anything loose in the back of the car is going to become a projectile that no matter which way we're facing, that could hit that child. When you're looking at mirrors or you're looking at toys that hang on the back for the child to look at, that is coming right at their face. So those are things that we recommend that you stay away from, regardless of if you're rear or front facing. When we're talking forward facing only, those would be car seats, and a booster seat would be forward facing only. Oh, I'm not going to try to do that right now. Those forward facing car seats are going to do just that. They only face one way. You're not going to be able to use them rear facing. Combination seats, all-in-one seats. We talked a little bit about boosters. Those types of seats, they're going to do everything. They're going to be 4-in-1s. They're going to go, you've got some like the orbitals. They're going to start rear facing. You're actually going to be able to spin it or turn it around on its base. And then it will also go up into a booster. So it can do all of the items. Okay, good, better, and best. Good, we're following minimum car seat manufacturer instructions. So you're following instructions on the side of the car seat. You're following instructions in your car seat manual, which is usually tucked up into the corner as I rip this one out. So you've got your car seat manual. It's also going to give you some instructions, and your actual car manual is important to have, because some cars will not allow a car seat to be placed in certain areas of that vehicle, or it's not recommended because of airbag placing. Maybe it's because of latches. So depending on how you're putting it into the car, you may want to look both at the manufacturer and look at the car and the car manual itself. See which ones fit together the best. So, and then state law. That's good to follow what everything says, state law, those are your minimum requirements. What's better? Better, you're following all the manufacturer's instructions, you're doing your minimum weights and heights. So you might say, well, yeah, but I can turn them around. They're of the right age. They can be front facing. And yes, they are of the right age. And then you say, well, they're right there. Like this front facing car seat happens to say they can turn around at 40 pounds. Okay, but it goes all the way up to say 68 pounds. So if you wait to go forward facing until you're closer to 68 pounds, that's a safer. You've kept them in that back seat, even though they're 40 pounds and could turn around. Then you wait, you're doing better. What's the very best? The very best is using a car seat to maximum height or weight limits for the car seat base, based on the manufacturer instructions and meeting and exceeding state law requirements. So you're using all the instructions, you're using your car manual, you're using your car seat manual, you are waiting to turn the child around, even though weight-wise they could turn around, you're waiting and leaving them in the back. You're not adding any of the extra padding, you're only using the padding that's supposed to be there. And you're keeping, and as you guys go, I know a little bit later on, we're using the straps at the height they should be used at. And as far as like our clips in the back, we're using the standard clips that are given with us. So we've done all these things. We're also, when we go front facing, we're using our latch, okay, our tether. So that would be your best practice. Is good not good enough? No, good'll work. Good'll keep you safe. Better keeps you safer, and best is going to be the absolute best thing that you can do for your child. If you will flip to the next slide. And we will bring up Beth, Beth Bauer.
Hi, I'm Beth. I'm one of our car seat techs at the health department. So I'm just going to go over law versus best practice. So law is kids that are four years of age or less than 40 pounds are required to be in a child safety seat. Even though, that's the law, they can be forward facing. But even though they've, outgrown the rear facing, they should still be in the forward facing. They should be wearing the harness as long as possible. Even if they can still be in that booster, if they can still wear the harness, that is great. And we definitely want them to have, if they aren't wearing the harness, need to have the seatbelt on. Next slide, please. And then law is 4 to 8-year-olds who weigh 40 pounds or more, shorter than 4'9", are required to be in a booster seat. So that is a law, but if they can still use the harness, that's even safer. We don't want them to, that impact of that crash. They're above the forward facing limit, they still should use the booster, and until the vehicle seat can fit them, or the seat belt, sorry, can fit them properly. So if they're even over that limit and they're not fitting in that seat belt properly, maybe their legs aren't able to bend at the seat, we would still want them in that booster seat, even though they are above those limits. Next slide, please. And then our last law that we're going to look at, children 8 to 15 should be in seat belts no matter where they are in the car. They should always be in the back seat, especially if they're younger than 13. And definitely want to make sure that they have the lap and the shoulder belt. Some cars maybe not have that, older cars, but they definitely need to have the seat belt on, and adults as well. They should always be wearing a seat belt.
Support. So now we're going to be talking about fixing some of the common mistakes that we see. So let's talk about some of the things that we could do better. So first slide, or next slide, please. So the first thing that we'll talk about is loose webbing. So when you're talking about loose webbing, that is the strap that goes over the shoulders of the child. You want that to pass a pinch test. If it's too loose and you can pinch it, where you get a piece of the webbing on or pinched between your fingers, it's too loose. So this bear looks like he's in there pretty well, but let's loosen him up a little bit just to show you an example. So if you look at our cute little bear here, right now his straps are purposely too loose. If I go ahead and pinch, you see I can grab some, and then we can tighten him up again. We think to ourselves, not so tight. We want to make sure his legs are also tight in there. So sometimes, especially with these 5-point harnesses, you're going to want to double check. You have to kind of play with both to make sure that the legs are tightening as much as the shoulder straps. So we'll make sure he's nice and tight in. We'll pull it out here. maybe tighten him in there. He is full of stuffing, so obviously it doesn't fit him quite like it would fit a human. But when we try to pinch, we can't get the webbing in between our fingers. That means that it is tight enough. Okay, next step, please, or next slide. The next thing that we'll talk about is the chest clip is too low. So we actually want the chest clip to be at armpit height. So you can see in the picture up here, this guy, he's looking like he's having a good time, but his belt or his chest clip right here is far below his armpits. We would rather have it up close to where the armpit is. That's because in a crash, when the child's moving forward, that chest clip is designed to move down. If it's too low in the first place, they can slide out through the webbing, and they're obviously not being held in their seat the way that we want them to be. It's again that ride down that Wendy was talking about. We want them to be able to be stopped as quickly as possible, move the least amount in that crash to prevent internal organ damage. So it's very important that this is at armpit height, so it does that properly. Next slide, please. Okay, harness strap height. So there's a difference between forward facing and frontward facing. If you think about it, it kind of makes sense, although it is confusing for first timers. So when you're facing forward, you want your straps to be just above shoulder height. Above shoulder height will help ensure that in the event of a crash, you're stopping as quickly as possible. When we are looking at rear facing, intuitively, we might think, oh, they should be in the same place, but actually they need to go down below the shoulder height because that's going to stop, I mean, obviously the baby's not quite at this angle, but that's going to stop the baby faster from moving out of the car seat. So he's sitting like this, he goes up, it stops him, he doesn't move quite as much. You're going to want to make sure that the strap height is correct. So for this particular seat, it's recommended that you do one strap at a time so that you don't lose it or get it mixed up. You're going to take it off of the hook back here. Again, one at a time. You feed it through, and then you can turn it forward. You can show them. You're going to feed it through. You want to make sure that it's fed through both the holes and obviously the actual seat. Sometimes we'll see parents come in and they have just thread it through the cover, the seat cover. That's obviously not going to help nearly as much. The seat cover will move first. You'll be held to the seat cover. Will the seat cover hold to the seat? Who knows? It's not secure in a crash. So Beth is just reconnecting it on the back, and then we'll go through and we'll do the other one. Now, again, this is for a rear-facing baby because he needs it to be below his shoulder height. You'll also want to check your manual to make sure that you're following the rules. On a lot of seats, it'll mark you can only use these areas for rear facing, and then after you get to a certain height or weight, you'll need to switch to where they're being attached to. Beth has them all in there. He's all secure for rear facing. He's making sure that his chest clip is at armpit height, and that his straps will pass the pinch test. Thank you for the on-the-ground camera work. I appreciate it. Again, you're double checking his legs. You're making sure that that's tight enough. This is a bear, not a human, so it's a bit different. But you want these to be just as tight and to pass the pinch test as up on the shoulders. Okay. The next common mistake, and this we can't really show you because we don't have a fun car to bring in here, but using the latch system and the seatbelt together. This was one of the things that I encountered personally when I was talking to friends and practicing as we were going through the training. A lot of people think that the latch system, which are those two metal bars in your seats, are going to be used in addition to a seatbelt. A lot of times, if you look into it, there are some car seats that allow that, but a lot do not. So check your car seat manual, check your car manual to make sure that you're using the correct metal bars in your seats for the latch system, which is the lower anchors and tether. And then these would be used for the lower anchors. So if you're using these, double check, make sure you can use these with the seatbelt. Otherwise, just use one or the other. And these two different systems for hooking car seats in do also have a different weight limit. So there might be a point where the child gets too big to use latch. They're no longer going to be secure in a crash. if they're using the latch system. So, and a latch system is always uses the tether as well. So you have to have the lower anchors and tether for it to be correct. If you think about it, if a baby is in a crash and you're just using the 2 lower anchors and there's no tether, we're forward facing in this case, it still slides forward. So I don't think we want our children to move that way in the car. I think we want them to just stay nice and still. So that's something to keep in mind. Using aftermarket products such as shoulder pads. So Wendy talked about this a little bit. This picture up here is actually from Target's website. So this is for sale right now. It looks very cute. He looks nice and cozy in there. However, these can compress in a way that you don't expect. So a lot of parents think that this makes their child much more comfortable. Children don't care. They really probably don't care. You might be worried about this rubbing on their little chins and necks. They're fine. They just want to get there safely. So if you have this type of thing on your child's car seat, it can compress. They can slide out of the seat in a way that you don't expect. Some car seats do come with padding in them. Those are okay to use. However, you need to double check that you're using them at the right height and weight limits, because those do change throughout the child's use of the car seat as well. All right, and then this one's coming up. We're in fall, we're getting into winter. People put their children in car seats in puffy winter clothes. They think it'll keep them warm and safe. But if you look, this child's coat there could compress easily and they could fall right out of that car seat. So it's not going to be as safe. You want to have them in well-fitting clothing that allows for a tight, snug fit, passes the pinch test. I bet that one does not pass the pinch test. And then you can cover them up with a blanket, whatever they need. Bring their coat along before you go into grandma's house. Put your coat on, you're safe. Okay, I think that's it. Let's do the quiz. Has everybody downloaded the Kahoot app? If you have the Kahoot app ready to go, that's great. Otherwise, you can go to kahoot.it, www.kahoot.it to sign up and put your name in. You'll use the game pin 3583016. All right, so car seat safety is the name of the quiz. Let's see what we know. All right, true or false? Ohio's rear-facing law says a child must be kept rear-facing until 2 years of age. What do we think? True or false? All right, false. That is correct. It is false. There's actually not any part of the law that says that you must be kept rear-facing. Best practice, yes, best practice is to stay rear-facing longer than 2 years of age, but the law does not specify. So, all right. Okay, so what's wrong with this picture? Do we think that the head supports are aftermarket and didn't come with the seat? Do we think that the chest clip is not at armpit height? Is the belt webbing too loose and would not pass the pinch test? Or do we think it's all of the above? Remember to read all of the possible answers before selecting your answer. Okay, so it's actually all of the above. So there were head supports that were aftermarket. They were cute little bananas, but that doesn't mean that they're safe. The chest clip was not at armpit height. The belt webbing looked like it was probably too loose and wouldn't pass the pinch test. So it's all of the above. All right, another true or false. A child can move to a booster seat when they are 5 years old. Do we think a child can move to a booster seat when they are 5 years old? All right, that is false. So they can move to a booster seat. I think technically it could be between the ages of 4 and 8, but best practice, what did we learn? To everybody, repeat it back to me, is to stay in your car seat rear facing and then in your forward facing 5-point harness as long as possible. So, and it's not really based on age. It's more so based on, I mean, age is part of it, but it's also based on height and weight. So just because you're 5 years old doesn't mean you're just good to go in a booster seat. All right, great job. All right, restraining force. So how much restraining force is needed to hold a 10-pound baby in place when traveling at 50 miles per hour? Do we think it's 50 pounds, 10 pounds, 500 pounds, or 850 pounds of restraining force? Okay, so yes, some of us did get that one. So it is 500 pounds. So it is the weight of the baby multiplied by the speed that you are traveling. So if you think that you can hold on to a 500-pound thing during a crash, then by all means, don't put your child in a seat. Otherwise, you should probably put your kid in a car seat or some sort of restraint. I don't think most of us can just instantly lift 500 pounds or hold on to 500 pounds worth of force. Okay, we got some points coming through this time. Great job, you guys. All right, another what's wrong with this picture. So what is wrong with this picture? The baby is bored. The toy is not tight to the seat. Toys should not be attached to car seats, or the buckle isn't tight. What do we think? Okay, toys should not be attached to car seats. Great job. You listened to Wendy. Love that. All right, another what's wrong with this photo? Do we think the seatbelt is through the wrong belt path? Do we think the child is too big for a booster seat? Nothing. Or do we think that the child should be in a car seat, not a booster? Perhaps maybe this child should be in a forward facing. What do we think? All right, nothing. So it looked like the seatbelt was through the correct path. The best way to keep that or to think about that is to remember that the belt path is whatever's closest to the seat. That child looked like he was about the right size for a booster. And yeah, I think nothing looked like that was off with that one. So great job, Wendy, pulling into it. Yeah. All right, so what do we think could be wrong with this photo? Do we think the belt webbing is too loose? Do we think that the chest clip isn't at armpit height? Do we think that the webbing is too loose and the chest clip is too low? Or do we think this girl's sunglasses could be a projectile? All right, so the webbing is too loose and the chest clip is too low. Her sunglasses were just really cool. Yes. Oh, Wendy's got a streak of 3 correct answers. She's moving up, but your height is still doing better. All right, so head support that comes with a car seat can be used at any age. What do we think? True or false? This is not asking about if you should use head supports, but if you can use it at any age. All right, that is false. So like we talked about, you should definitely double check to make sure that you're only using the padding that comes with a car seat for the correct ages. Once a kid gets to a certain height or weight and a certain age, it's just no longer appropriate. They're not going to be sitting in the seat correctly if you're using it. All right, true or false? A child can be moved to a booster as soon as they reach a minimum height and weight for a booster seat. True or false? Do we think a child can be moved to a booster seat as soon as they reach the minimum height and weight for a booster seat? Okay, true. However, what do we know? Best practice is that we do not move them to the booster seat until they're at the maximum height and weight for their forward-facing car seat. So you can move a child to a booster seat. That would be good. We want to do better or best and keep them in that 5-point harness for a little bit longer. So yes, and Beth was mentioning the age. So the law does state you have to be a certain height and weight and 8 years old. So keep that in mind as well. Oh, Wendy's moving in, although I think she has an unfair advantage as she helps make this quiz. We do appreciate her participation, though. It's okay for a 4'9" child weighing 40 pounds or more to ride in just a seatbelt. It is okay for a 4'9" child weighing 40 pounds or more to ride in just a seatbelt. All right, that is true. By law, a child can do that. However, again, we would like them to stay in a booster as long as possible. It's, we're just repeating the same thing over and over again, but sometimes parents don't quite get it. So the more we say it, hopefully the more you take it in. We want you to keep your child safe as long as possible. And they should stay in the back seat as long as possible. Beyond 15 is great. If everybody could ride in the back seat, we would all be safer. All right, so let's look at our winner's podium again, Wendy did help. That's actually Jake, Yahida, and then Wendy. So sorry, Jake. Yahida. Does anybody want to come up and practice based on what they have now learned from? You want to redeem yourself, Jake, a little bit? Come on up here. I see you saying you want to come up. Come on up, sir. Okay, so when you're forward facing, everybody help them out. When you're forward facing, where should the straps be? It should be at or above the shoulder slightly, right? So right now, these are below his shoulder. So if we're forward facing, that's going to allow a little bit more movement before he's stopped. So we want this bear to be as safe as possible. So we're going to change the strap height. Could you hold this for just a second? We're going to listen.
Hello, Sabrina.
Hi, Jake.
All right, here's your child. Give him a go. See if you can get him in there the way that kind of talked about.
What's his name?
Bear is his name. So, Barry Smith. Or he can be Barry McMillian if you would like. Why are you looking at that?
Remember.
We also have heard from some parents, when you have your first child or sometimes even your next couple of children, although you're probably a little bit more experienced by that point, a lot of times you don't have somebody to help you put your car seat in. So if you are becoming a first-time parent, well, that's okay. He doesn't have bones. So if you're becoming a first-time parent, if that's on the horizon for you, you may want to stop in and talk with our car seat techs about how to properly install your car seat. We didn't even get into where you would place it in the car and that sort of thing, obviously back seat, but beyond that. So that's something that we can help with. If you have questions, you can always give us a call as well. Okay, so would you like to come up and show him where he might be missing one or two steps? It looks like he's doing pretty good. He passes the pinch test pretty well up here, and we're at armpit height, so that's improved. But yes, we need to make sure that the front buckle is there so that he doesn't slip out the bottom.
That's why I went tighten.
Yep. So his little legs still need to be in the 5-point harness. To come check your work at the health department. We have car seat checks by appointment Mondays and Fridays from 9 a.m. to noon. We do also during our Boo to the Flu clinic on the 24th of October, we're going to be doing car seat checks there as well. You can come get your flu shot and get your kids in to check their seats, make sure the fit is correct from 4 to 6 p.m. for the car seats, from 4 to 7 for the vaccines. It just takes us a little bit longer for the car seat check than to get your vaccine. So we encourage you to come by 6 p.m. that night. And you're welcome to come in costume, kids and adults. So it should be spooky, good fun. And then we also, as we talked about, do have reduced cost car seats and boosters for qualifying families. You can see the income guidelines for Ohio Buckles Buckeyes. We have that information at the health department, or you can give us a call. And then our upcoming events. So we've got a flu talk at 6 p.m. October 6th at the Mohawk Community Library coming up pretty quick. If you don't want to drive clear to Sycamore, you like Upper Sandusky, we're doing a similar flu talk, the Flu and You at 6 p.m. November 9th, right here in the library's, not basement, but large conference room. We've got Spooky Health Phenomena at 6 p.m. October 27th. Here in the large meeting room at the Upper Sandusky Community Library. That one should be fun. We're talking about some of the weird things that our bodies do. And then finally, Tracing Family Health History, 6 p.m. December 7th, right here at the Upper Sandusky Community Library. So thank you all for attending tonight. We encourage you to come check your work at the health department. We have car seat checks by appointment Mondays and Fridays from 9 a.m. to noon. We do also during our Boo to the Flu clinic on the 24th of October. We're going to be doing car seat checks there as well. You can come get your flu shot and get your kids in to check their seats, make sure the fit is correct from 4 to 6 p.m. for the car seats, from 4 to 7 for the vaccines. It just takes us a little bit longer for the car seat check than to get your vaccine. So we encourage you to come by 6 p.m. that night. And you're welcome to come in costume, kids and adults. So it should be spooky, good fun. And then we also, as we talked about, do have reduced cost car seats and boosters for qualifying families. You can see the income guidelines for Ohio Buckles Buckeyes. We have that information at the health department, or you can give us a call. And then our upcoming events. So we've got a flu talk at 6 p.m. October 6th at the Mohawk Community Library coming up pretty quick. If you don't want to drive clear to Sycamore, you like Upper Sandusky, we're doing a similar flu talk, the Flu and You at 6 p.m. November 9th, right here in the library's, not basement, but large conference room. We've got Spooky Health Phenomena at 6 p.m. October 27th. Here in the large meeting room at the Upper Sandusky Community Library. That one should be fun. We're talking about some of the weird things that our bodies do. And then finally, Tracing Family Health History, 6 p.m. December 7th, right here at the Upper Sandusky Community Library. So thank you all for attending tonight.